So the way that we're going to facilitate the automatic attachment of property set information to these objects is to create custom data parameters that are included in the part definition itself. So we're going to do that for with an example of an existing air terminal, and we're going to do that from the content builder. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to choose this 24 by 24 terminal, and I'm going to choose to modify that. And I'm going to go over here, and this allows me to add a parameter. The same thing can be done within a parametric part just by right-clicking on the parameter names. So if I go within here, this is familiar and common to both block-based and parametric parts. I'm going to go to my parameter configuration. I'm going to create a new part parameter name. So I'm going to call this part name. Now the important thing here is that we also set the description. This is going to be the name of the property when it actually gets published to property set data. So I'm going to call this again part name. And this is actually going to be a calculation because this information is already included in the part itself. So what we're going to do is we're just going to reference that in a custom data form. Because the important thing here is we'll just go here and we'll set it to the size name, which is the information that's already created there. We're just basically going to reference that. So once we do that, if you go to the values, you'll see that it's already included there. So the other item we're going to want to include here is the ID for the part. Now you've decided it was A in your example. And if this is something that will be constant throughout the project, then we can go ahead and set it in here. The important item to point out here is that this is a one-way street. If we define it as A here, there's not an easy way right now with the program to make a change. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create another custom data, and I'm going to call it part ID. And again, we're going to change this here. And again, we're setting it as a constant and a string value. So if I go over to values, now I'm going to actually have to drop in parentheses around, or quotations around this. I'm going to call this. And now we can actually go ahead and get rid of those. I'm not sure why that happens, but we'll set this as an A here. So this is information that will both be pushed out. This will be under part name. This will be under part ID. So now that we've made those changes, we can go ahead and hit OK and save those changes back to the part definition themselves. Now that information is attached to the part itself, we can go ahead and insert it into the drawing. Let's see, we're going to choose the part that we used and go ahead and place it. You'll see that we have an MvPart Air Terminal Styles property set definition that's attached to this, and we have part ID and part name as included property sets. Now the reason why we didn't add flow here is the flow is something that's relative to the individual placement of that diffuser. So we're going to go ahead and place it afterwards. Now the key item here is that this property set needs to be brought into the drawing file before you go ahead and add that flow. We can't go ahead and create this ahead of time and set these items here. This needs to be brought in once. So if this were a template file, you're going to need to go ahead and drop in this diffuser to bring in this instance of the property set once. Then you can go ahead and delete the diffuser, purge out building systems objects to get rid of that object part definition, and you're still going to contain this. So what I'll go ahead, once I have that property set in the drawing, so I'm going to go into my style manager, and I'm going to go into my property sets. You'll see that we have MvPart Air Terminal Styles, and I'm going to go ahead and add the flow property to this. Now the key item now is that this flow property will be automatically assigned to any other diffuser that's placed in the drawing, because these two items are creating that link back to the catalog. That's going to spur the automatic creation. So right now we don't have any flow assigned to it. If I were to go ahead and do an MvPart modify, you'll see that I can do, let's say, 250. we'll look down here and we'll see that this information is all included. So on this one PSD, we now have automatically added this 3 different items that are needed to update this tag. So what we've got to do is let's go ahead and take a look at this. We're using Jared diffuser tag as a view block, so let's go ahead and update those items. So the important thing here is let's get those names down for the new property set definition. So what I'm going to do is I've got a text document I'm going to bring over here, and actually I'm going to move this off the capture screen, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to be copying and pasting these names. So I'm going to take this name here, our terminal styles. Oops. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go ahead and place it over here, and I'm going to do the same thing and take the actual property names themselves. So I go in here, I'm going to copy this, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to copy that. So the end result is that I'm going to have the names here over on my text pad, and we're going to go ahead and use those to update the attributes that your schedule tag is referencing. So if I go ahead in here, and I'm just going to pull up my block editor, I'm going to go into Jared diffuser tag. Again, I'm going off screen to my notepad. We're going to update here. I'm going to update here. And we're going to update here. So now we've made these changes, we can save the block. So what I'm going to do is I've saved this drawing. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this. Oops, I've already created this, but this was a bad version from before. I'm going to create a new one. Let's drag it onto my tool palette. We've now got your diffuser tag. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and let's save it. So now we've got it set up. Let's go ahead and drop in some of our equipment. Let's set our flows. Okay, so we can go ahead and attach our tags now. This will pop up. Once it gets added, we don't need to add anything here. So we've got all our information we need. You'll see that this is listed. Of course, this name's a little long. You probably want to change it, but again, you can obviously go ahead and change that yourself if you'd like. And there you go. It's working. It's automatic. We didn't have to add any property sets.